Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the 3rd and 20 Dynasty Podcast, Season 2, Episode 51, which means we're just about wrapping up the second season of 3rd and 20 Dynasty Pod. No Lounis with us. I mean, the seasons don't really matter other than they correlate with the actual NFL seasons, but
you know what that means.
What does that mean?
It's almost NFL time, baby.
Exactly. We're getting close. We actually have some relatively juicy news for this week for once, I feel like in a while, which is nice.
We were struggling through the early summer. I'll just kick it right off then though. Starting with Chris Carson retiring, neck injury. It was kind of rumored for a little bit that he might have been done, but officially he's retiring. Chris Carson no longer going to be the running back for the Seattle Seahawks. Now, what does that mean? Is Rashad Penny the clear-cut starter? Does Kenneth Walker have an extension early? I don't know. Personally, I think Rashad Penny's pretty good. I think Kenneth Walker's solid. I think he might be a little bait for what his price is. But I think this is just a Seattle team that's just going to have to run the ball a lot anyway. So both could be nice.
Yeah, I think it's just no surprise that he's retiring. I mean, I'm going to pull up on the screen now. Dude, look at this neck plate he has. Like, are we really shocked that he's not playing with this freaking plate in his neck?
Oh, my God. I know that was a thing. Hey, chat.
Yeah, I saw. Yeah, what's going on, Joe? What's going on, Lappy? I feel like the writing was on the wall for a while here. It was a little bit of a pipe dream that he would come back, but that's probably one of the major reasons why they ended up picking up Kenneth Walker in the draft. Yeah, RIP Chris Carson was a good player. One of those dudes had a great story. He was undrafted, right?
Yeah,
he was a seventh round pick. 7th round.
He was 7th round?
Yes, I believe he was.
But it was the same. It was the same draft that they drafted Penny, right?
Yeah.
Which is a shame. I mean, the dude beat the odds. He was a great football player. When he was healthy, guy was super productive. But yeah, he's dynasty done for, droppable easily.
Yeah. Sad to see him go. I won some leagues with him back in like 2017, I think it was. Whenever he had that really good year, but. You know, in terms of moving forward, I think they're going to start the season splitting the carries between Penny and Kenneth Walker. The problem I have with this is that I just don't see Penny staying healthy for more than 6 weeks. The man's never stayed healthy for more than 6 weeks, and I just don't see it happening. And when that happens, I mean, Kenneth Walker is the only guy in that backfield that's really a threat to even deserve carries. Basically, what are you going to give carries to DJ Dallas at this point? Like, I just don't know who else in that backfield would challenge him for carries if Penny were to go down.
Yeah, the thing is though, is that what if he doesn't? What if Rashad Penny doesn't get hurt? And we see the running back that he was at the end of last year. He came out and personally said, okay, I finally feel comfortable in the NFL. I finally feel like the coaching staff knows how to use me, that they actually believe in me. I've traded for Penny in a couple leagues. I think that Penny is still a good value, even with the addition of Kenneth Walker. So Chris Carson leaving, I don't really think impacts much. I think even if he was around, I guess I just didn't expect him to be around, not even if he was around. But I still think that Penny's the running back to own in this backfield. And personally, I think it's one of the few backfields in the NFL where there's serious arbitrage value between the person who's projected to play and the guy that I think is actually going to produce. So I'm all aboard the Penny train right now.
I just think they're both like fairly priced, to be honest. I'm just not like Kenneth Walker being priced as running back 16. It's not bad. It just still feels kind of high to me, you know, like he's still in that realm of Alvin Kamara, Aaron Jones. I get that he's younger, but like those guys are just, they're locks to outproduce him. And then more exciting young backs too, like J.K. Dobbins and Cam Akers are who's like right in front of him. And then in turn,
Did you lose JT as well?
I did. He's gone.
All right. Well, I don't know what he was going to say, but I like Rashad Penny a lot. I think he's a good player. Obviously, there's definitely some risk. Oh, hold on. Let me get you back in here. You're not on the pod right now. All right, you're back on. That was some user error from JT apparently. What were you gonna say in terms of what?
Going for a dramatic exit on that one. I don't even know. I was talking about Rashad Penny. It's just like I think where Rashad Penny is like, it doesn't feel good giving up. Like if I like a 2023 second does not feel good giving that up for Rashad Penny, but if I'm a contender and I think it's going to be late, that's one thing. If I could push it back to 2024, that's another thing, because I think then at least seconds are easier to come by. It's not. It wouldn't be my go-to move, I would say. But if I saw that hit my sleeper notification or whatever app you use, and it's like, oh, Rashad Penny got traded for a second, I'd be like, all right, like that's fair, that's fine.
Personally, I have not given up a 23 second. I have given up 24 seconds for Penny. Also picked him up after the 12th round, primarily in the 13th and 14th round of startups. I think his startup value is pretty good. It's definitely a little risky, but I think given the upside, it's worth it. But if you're a contender, a team that you're very confident in your ability to be a good team by 2024, I would give up the second. Especially because, like you said, I think that 24 seconds are not terribly hard to come by. If you want to recoup them, it's not the most difficult thing in the world. And even, I think for like a good year and a half, you can get them towards throw-in price when trading for with a contender, especially if you have one of those young receivers where it's like, take someone like Hollywood Brown, potentially. If you're not trying to trade him for a 23 first, you might be able to pull off a move where it's like, a 24 first and a 24 second for third swap, if that makes any sense, right? You give up the third, get a second and a first for Hollywood in that third. I think that's a move that you could definitely do if you wanted to recoup seconds, but it's an interesting backfield. I think the obvious downside is that what is this Seattle offense going to be? Is it even worth rostering one of these running backs in this backfield because they might be so darn not productive?
This offense is going to be atrocious. Let's just say what it is. If you're going to have Drew Lock and Geno Smith manning your quarterback all year, this offense is going to be atrocious. They're going to be losing a lot of games, and I don't like at that point. Are they going to throw the ball? Are they just going to give in and run the ball? Like I don't know how this offense is going to play out. But it's just the Seattle team could go 0-17. Let's be real. They're
I think that's a little harsh.
They are so bad. They have a bad
defense. Talented.
Their offense has DK Metcalf
and Tyler Lockett and two decent running backs and Noah Fant.
The O-line's awful, though.
The O-line is awful, and the defense is bad. This team is going nowhere, and everyone knows.
Good linebackers.
They lost the best one. They lost Bobby Wagner.
They have a good linebacker. Like, all right, let's move on to the next one.
All right.
Yeah, I agree though. For the certain time, that's one of the main reasons why I'm fading Kenneth Walker. But like, I think it is a little bit priced in with Rashad Penny. John Metchie, cancer. I actually didn't read the news report. I've kind of been off the social media, so you guys are going to have to explain this one a little bit too.
Yeah, he got diagnosed with acute
form of leukemia.
Putting me on the spot here. APL leukemia. Yeah, apparently, it's the most curable form of leukemia. He said he should make a good comeback and everything, but right now he's obviously focusing on that and not football.
So is he glorified out for the year?
He said in his statement that he came out with through the Texans saying, I will likely be out for the year. I'm dealing with my health. That's about it. He said like JT said, it's the most curable form of leukemia. We all you can do is wish for a speedy recovery for the guy. I wish he was on the field. I took him in a couple rookie drafts this year, but guys got to get healthy first.
Yeah, and with the Texans, it's already such a bleak offense to begin with. We're gonna break down the AFC South. That's later on in the episode. But this is already such a bleak offense, and no John Metchie. It's just, I mean, in fantasy football, I'm avoiding this team essentially entirely, other than maybe Brandon Cooks. But like in Dynasty, there's no real actionable advice for John Metchie other than you probably had him stashed anyway if you had taxis. Otherwise, it's now easier to stash him. So,
well, someone like Nico Collins might be able to benefit from something like this.
I think Nico Collins now just is the clear number 2 guy in this offense. I mean, we'll get into it a little later when we go through the AFC South, but this team's receivers were looking pretty bad. That's a big reason why they took Metchie in the second round of the draft. And now I think Nico Collins really has no competition behind him to be that number 2 guy behind Brandon Cooks.
Yeah, not that they would be playing the same role, but in terms of target share. Yeah. Like this might, like, let's say Nico Collins was a shoo-in for, let's say, like 11 to 13% of the targets to begin with. This could be a situation where maybe he gets that 15 to 20% target share that you're really hoping for. And especially if he produces early, whether you want to keep him on to hold on to potential, or I think sell him potentially for something like a 23-second or some sort of player swap where you can kind of start putting your eggs in a better prospect. That could be something that happens. But
yeah, I mean, he did have an 11% target share last year. It should have only really gone up going into his sophomore season, like especially with the lack of depth. I'm not expecting much, but like, if he could break into a 15% target share, that's actually like a usable fantasy player. But
yeah, that's a usable, wide receiver 3 flex play, pretty much. So
I just don't know how realistic that will be.
Yeah, it's definitely a speculation buy, but it's not like the Nico Collins price tag is all that hefty. Now, I don't think I'm going out there and paying for Nico Collins right now at the same time, though.
No, I'm also not. I mean, I like Nico Collins, but like you would have thought he was a senior coming out like into a team which had a completely depleted depth chart. Like it was just Brandon Cooks, and then everyone else was like has-beens on teams like Philip Dorsett and Chris Conley. You would have thought you would have seen more from Nico Collins, and he just didn't really show a whole lot.
Didn't he get hurt? Didn't he miss time last year?
He played in 14 games.
Metchie's body will deteriorate while undergoing chemo, so we have to deal with that as well. Yeah, that is a good point. So
I think that's part of him being out the whole. I mean, I'm not gonna act like I'm an expert on cancer and how long it takes
I have
to
no
fight,
idea.
but I would assume, treatment would only last a couple months, but then your body rehabbing and everything is probably going to be the larger.
I guess the real question I would have, as someone that, like Jake, I think I know I took Metchie in at least one league, maybe 2. I liked him as a prospect. I have him in a couple at least. Is he the type of player right now where you're just like, fuck it, I'll mass offer him for a 23-second?
I mean, I don't think you'll get anyone to really buy it. It's one of those things where you feel bad for the guy and you want him to get back, but like I don't think anyone's going to go out here unless they're absolutely in love with John Metchie and give you a second for him. I know that's where you probably took him in your rookie drafts this year, but like again, next year's a very good rookie class. Everyone's hyping up these 2023 picks. I just have a hard time anyone's going to give you more than a third next year for John Metchie at this very moment, just with the risk of obviously dealing with cancer treatment.
Yeah, you're not
I'm just thinking right now from looking at the keep trade cut graphs, that it's not like obviously there's going to be a steep decline in price, but to me, the real way that you're going to lose value on someone like Metchie is throughout the season. We see a lot of the other rookie players starting to play well. Maybe he'll get some hype next year around training camp, but I actually do think there could be a potential sell window for a 23 or 24 second right now if you really wanted to get out. I don't think that that's something out of the realm of possibility.
I think the more likely scenario is you just throw him on your taxi. If you were going to not put him on your taxi potentially just because he was in such a thin receiver core, you hope he would get some targets, so maybe you weren't planning on it. Now you just throw him on the taxi and hope for the best.
Yeah, I think
Nico improved. Oh, sorry, I was reading chat. Nico improved over the year last season. Good reports of camp on him. I like Nico. I actually have him in a good amount of my taxi squads. The thing is, I just feel like when push comes to shove, if there's a window to sell him for a second round pick, I'm going to sell him. I don't know if you have him as well, Joe, but that's my outlook on him right now. Unless maybe he's a world beater. Like if he comes out to start the season is like destroying people, maybe I'll reconsider. But as of right now, that's the general plan.
If people are buying for a second, I'm selling. All right, I'm just gonna move us along though to finally happened, Frank. I mean, this is going to be a bigger topic on tomorrow's episode of the Dynasty Stock Market. But our guy Julio Jones,
Frank, you're going to come out so net even. It's hilarious.
Yeah, but I'm still going to victory lap the fuck out of it. I don't care.
Look. I mean, Lounis is lucky he's not here. He's running from the grind. He's afraid because Frank and I cashing in on Julio Jones, signing with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Well, that was better than my wildest dreams. I thought he was going to like the Colts. I thought he was going to the Ravens, but oh no, Julio Jones, we're going to pair you with Tom Brady. Like, all right, fair enough. Now look, we're going to talk about the PUP, who's on it, who's not on it and everything. But like, this is a team that had Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Antonio Brown last year. They obviously lost.
Yeah.
They were all productive. They obviously lost Antonio Brown. Chris Godwin is going to be coming back from an ACL injury. And I mean, that essentially means Mike Evans is the only 100% healthy guy right off rip. So bringing in the likes of Julio Jones, I'm all in. I think this is great for the Bucs.
You want him, JT?
I tried trading for him before. I don't know what you give.
Okay, I guess the real question first off is, what is the realistic fair price tag for Julio Jones right now? Is it an early third?
I mean, probably, but I think, again, you're going to have a hard time because the guy who has Julio Jones, if you have Julio Jones and you're not a contender or were a contender when you had him, I don't know what you're doing. You should have sold him.
You're looking for the second. 100% you're looking for the second.
I mean, yeah, but like at the same time, if a guy like me in our home league where I have Julio Jones, I've had him for a long time, I'm still a contender. I don't know if I'm really selling him. Because like the hypothetical chance of he stays healthy playing with Tom Brady is just something that my team really didn't have and I didn't foresee coming. That opportunity to be a solid play every week is something that Julio Jones hasn't been the past 2 years. So like if you can get that as a contender for a third round pick, I like the buy on that one.
Well, Joe Herbert's got a good point because someone like he said Julio hurts Gage but helps Brady. I mean, Russell Gage is someone that we saw climbed to about a second round pick price.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Are we not thinking that Julio Jones just kind of usurps Gage in that role?
Sure. I mean, just the issue is I just thought Russell Gage was grossly overpriced.
Is Russell Gage dead? I don't think he's dead, but is he dead?
Russell Gage just loves to get buried on the depth chart by Julio Jones.
Yeah. Russell Gage can't escape this guy. I mean, yeah, to me, Russell Gage was always kind of fool's gold in the first place. Like, I was just never in on Russell Gage.
The thing that intrigues me the most, though, is that this just could be a team that doesn't throw to the tight end a whole lot. So,
I mean, I don't think they will. I mean, their tight end options are...
Yeah, if we're talking about an offense that, let's just say, is top 10 in passing rate, which I don't think is anything outside of the realm of possibility. This could be a team that easily supports 3 receivers. Godwin is showing up for camp, but like, is he going to be fully healthy? Is he going to be taking a lot of snaps early this season if he's playing? Russell Gage is someone that we've seen used at LSU, and I hate to frame it as this, but this is the way that everyone's framing it, the Deebo Samuel role. But as that guy that you kind of use him in that, okay, yards after catch, we're going to hand it to him on sweeps and shit. And I mean, that could add a dynamic element to the Bucs offense. Like, I just think that this might be a team that you look at the depth chart and you see them spread the football out and shy away from a lot of the 2 tight end sets that they were using last year. Yeah, like Joe Herbert said, I see a lot of 10 personnel in Tampa Bay.
Agreed.
He's essentially saying the same thing as me. They're going to spread the football out. They're gonna stretch defenses and see, like, listen, we're going to ask you with our guys. We got Mike Evans, we got Julio, we got Russell Gage. We have a good running back and a good offensive line. Match us up one-on-one with the best quarterback in the league.
I'm just pulling up the Bucs 2021 stats right now because I know for a fact that they passed the most in the league last year. And yeah, pulling it up here, right? I mean, the receiving targets, Chris Godwin had 98, and that was with the torn ACL. 127, 98 receptions. So Chris Godwin had 127, Mike Evans had 114, Antonio Brown had 62. And then after that, it's Gronk with 89, like Tyler Johnson with 55. Like, I'm sorry, but like, if it's even if you like the Gronk and Tyler Johnson targets, the Antonio Brown's targets, those are all up for grabs, right? Like they're vacated targets. I think that's kind of a fallacy to use vacated targets, but for this instance, I'm just gonna throw them out there. I just think split between the likes of Julio and the rest of the Bucs, I think Julio Jones is the only one that I really would feel comfortable starting. Like, I'm just not that intrigued by of Russell Gage and his, maybe 3-4 targets a game.
Well, Russell Gage, I'm looking at Player Profiler here. 2021. Okay, where the hell is the number? I just saw it. Apparently had an 18 point. That's a red zone target share. 110 targets last year.
Oh,
is that right? I can't find
Russell Gage. No, I'm looking at 94 targets for Russell Gage last year.
94.
But in 14 games.
All right, so let's do some math real quick. Let me pull out the calculator. 94 divided by
big math
14.
guy. Frank's a big math guy.
Breaking down stats.
6.7. So this must be from the year before or something, because it's showing 6.9 targets per game. I mean, if that sticks, plus the relative health concerns around Godwin and Julio, let's not act like, if we're going to talk about injuries with Rashad Penny, you can't mention it with Julio. I mean, the guy hasn't been able to stay on the field. Like, I'm going to lean that Russell Gage isn't dead. He's just not as much of a slam as before.
I mean, realistically, what's the price on Russell? Like, because you were saying he was going for a second at this point.
Yeah,
I think you'll get him for a third. I think you can get him for a third, for the right third.
Or maybe like a 2 for 3 swap might make sense, something like that.
Maybe.
Yeah, there's just no shot I'm doing that for Russell Gage. Like,
I'm never trade. I'm with JT. I'm just not trading for Russell Gage. I've fallen into that.
Yeah, there's so many more like already established veterans that I know are going to give me points, and then there's also like more intriguing young guys that I might take a flyer on to than Russell Gage. He's already been the year. Like, I'm not betting on a 5th-year breakout from Russell Gage.
That's fair.
All right, moving us along. PUP. We finally got the PUP list. I guess that means they can be cleared at any time. That's what the doc is telling me.
Yeah, so I was doing a little bit of research with the preseason PUP. It's different from the regular season PUP. I'm pretty sure you can kind of just start practicing or playing in a preseason game at any time and be cleared. Whereas the regular season PUP, if you're on the regular season PUP, you have to miss the first 6 weeks. So I guess we're gonna go through the list of the there are a couple fantasy players, technically speaking, that are on the PUP list that we didn't include, but they're so niche it's not even worth mentioning. But I guess we'll go through the list that we have here and kind of gauge if it matters or not. So we can start off with the big one on the PUP list that everyone expected: Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins. Not really a surprise, but does this actually matter? Is this changing your outlook, yes or no?
No. I mean, I think we kind of expected both of these guys to at least start camp on the PUP, just coming off that ACL for both of them. The interesting question is, do they stay on it come the regular season for these guys? I mean, I don't think it really changes Dobbins' value at all regardless, but Gus Edwards, if, he was able to start the regular season healthy and getting carries, I think that would up his value a little bit, just because that offense is going to run the ball a significant amount. And I do think Gus Edwards is a part of that offense. Obviously, Lamar and Dobbins are the big two pieces. But if healthy, I think Gus Edwards does get 5 to 7 rushes a game and is a part of this offense.
Saints still the best wide receiver core in the NFC South. Dude, Mark 504, I'm all about the Saints hype. You don't have to convince me to hype up the Saints, dude.
Nah. Look, Michael Thomas, Jarvis Landry, both very good, but I mean, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin is better, and then you know how I feel about Chris Olave.
Dude, Saints are going to shock the world this year. I hope you all know.
Saints are going to be good.
Hall of Famer in Julio.
I think the Saints are going to be good also.
Oh, interesting. Regular season PUP is 4 weeks this season instead of 6. See, Joe Herbert, that's why we like having you around, bro. Yeah.
Thanks, Joe.
Joe Herbert's like the encyclopedia of NFL random knowledge. I love it, dude. You're the fucking man. So David Bell on the PUP list. This is one that I didn't really see coming. Does this matter or not?
This is the first one that concerned. The other two I kind of expected just because of the nature of the injury. David Bell's got this lingering foot injury that I don't like it. I don't, he's missing very important time to be practicing with this, new quarterback and new system and everything. And as a rookie, I don't like him missing time right off the bat. I mean, he's already like a very fringe, he was that fringe day 2 guy. I think he was like the last pick on day 2. And
pick 99, I think, right?
I'm sure, maybe. I don't know. Whatever he was like one of the last picks on day 2. And with him missing time already, it does have me kind of concerned.
Yeah, I just didn't really see that. I don't really know how to gauge it personally. Like, I'm not going to discount or obviously I'm not going to hype David Bell anymore. But like, as of right now, I'm not panicking or anything on David Bell. I think that's a little bit premature. All right, KJ Hamler, really no surprise, big injury last year. Why Chris Goodwin, I believe you meant Godwin, gets a pass on torn ACL, but Mike gets burned and he's actually running?
What?
I think and I kind of agree, right? Like Michael Thomas, I think, has just gotten a little too much hate at this point. But it's more concerning with Michael Thomas because he had like that botched surgery and then he had another surgery to correct it, and then it's also the whole back and forth with the Saints and everything and how he feels with ownership and stuff. It's more to it than just an injury and that's it. Like, you got injured, you got your surgery. There's more factors at play, but I do agree Michael Thomas has gotten too much hate at this point.
I have a very accurate representation of how many games Julio Jones is gonna play. Let me pull it up.
3.
Robert Miller. You want to see how many games Julio Jones is gonna play?
Oh no, what's he doing?
That's how many. You tell me.
Oh, okay. Rolling dice.
Who fucking knows? This guy could play the whole season and no one's gonna be surprised. He could play one fucking game. He might not even play, bro. He might not even play.
Julio Jones is
I'm
gonna play.
still gonna buy into the hype. I am such a Julio stan. I don't give a fuck. I love Julio.
I mean, truthfully, it's just been the past 2 years that he's missed like significant time, and then you gotta go all the way back to 2013 to see when he actually missed any other big time. I don't know. I mean, the 2 years in a row is not a great stretch, but he's very cheap, I'd say, in dynasty leagues to go out and get.
I mean, for the upside, like Michael Thomas, I mean, we're talking about a dude that like had a wide receiver one season, what, a year removed, and he's like in the 50s in terms of wide receiver ranking.
Yeah, I was just talking about Julio, but now talking about Michael Thomas. Agree, same thing. Just the it's already discounted that they're Julio and Michael Thomas, like they're injury prone and everything. Like that's baked into what the price is. And at that point, I think gambling on and rolling the dice, like Frank was showing, on those kind of players at the price they're at, like where if they hit, those are like league winning moves. Like.
Well, I think especially like, okay, so let's say you have the young hyped receiver. I'm trying to think of an example that would be Jalen Waddle. Let's just take Jalen Waddle. You trade him for Michael Thomas and a 23 projected late first. I think that'll come out to fair on Keep Trade Cut. That could be a move as a contender that would work out.
I think the Waddle side is would come out pretty. I'm pulling. Maybe
Wait,
not.
which side is wrong? You're not getting enough?
Oh no, it does come back even. Yeah, personally, I know which side Jake would have been on.
There's like honestly, like I'm all for making moves like that, but that's just one that doesn't make sense. If you have a guy that's 23 and just comes off of the rookie receptions record, I'm not trading him for Slant Boy that hasn't played that didn't play last year.
Yeah, but
I'm just not doing it.
Your 23 rookie reception record leader just got a very big opponent for targets in Tyreek Hill. Like it's not like there's a reason why his price isn't through the moon right now, Jalen Waddle's, and that's because Tyreek Hill is also there. So
I mean, listen, if you want to go down the chain, if you can go down the chain for a worse receiver than that and do it, like by all means, go ahead. That was just the one to me that came off the top of my head that's realistically doable. All right, but let's move on. So we kind of touched on KJ Hamler, PUP list. No real surprise. I don't think it changes anyone's value.
No.
Jameson Williams as well. No surprise. Don't think it changes his value. Then the Packers had a slew of players on the PUP list. Kylan Hill, Christian Watson, Robert Tonyan. The most interesting being Watson and Tonyan. Any changes in perception on Watson or Tonyan?
I mean, again, I don't like the rookies being with Jameson Williams. That was expected, right? Like we knew he was going to miss significant time going into the season. Christian Watson, I didn't expect to be on here. I'm not even sure. I'm looking it up right now what he has.
Yeah, I'm looking it up. I think it's not a huge deal. I think he'll be back relatively soon.
Not a huge deal. I love that, Jake. I love that.
All right. Pro Football Talk even said it's not clear what injury is keeping Watson from being cleared to take part in practice.
Wait a minute. That's a thing, Robert Miller? Robert Miller just said, what about Kyler Murray's contract mandating?
Yeah, you didn't see that?
Yeah, dude, that was hilarious.
Lounis sent it to us.
God.
Yeah, there's been a lot of reports about this is one of the things that I've seen in like the Dynasty subreddit before where I was like, I wonder how, like, if that's actually true. And it's kind of coming out to be like, apparently, why I read in the Dynasty sub. So this is all allegations and everything. And now it's a game of telephone because I'm saying it. But what I saw in the Dynasty subreddit last year, like a full calendar year ago, was something along the lines of like when COVID was happening and they're having team meetings, like Kyler Murray would just be playing Xbox or PlayStation while on Zoom and stuff, and like, you know, like just didn't really care. And at first I thought, okay, that's absurd. But the Cardinals putting into their contract that he has to study without the TV on, like there's all these stipulations.
You
of
know,
what
there's so
4-hour
many
studies.
stipulations on it.
Yeah,
And basically what I've heard is that they don't trust him for a lick of anything. And the fact that they had to do it because otherwise they're fucked. Let's be honest. If they don't give him this contract, he's gone. They have to trade him. It's a whole thing. But they don't trust him, and there's going to be lawyers involved because you know at some point they're going to try to say, oh, we don't owe you this money because you were playing on your phone during a team meeting or you were on your phone during your mandated study time. So, like, we're not going to pay you. And then there's going to be a big fight between them and the Cardinals. I honestly think this stipulation alone probably caused some problems in getting the contract signed. And it's probably why it took a while. I wouldn't be surprised if Kyler, after a year, is like, you know what, fuck you, I'm out of here. I just don't care
about
that's
this,
a lot
dude.
of money
Kyler
to say.
can play. That's the thing, dude. When you're Kyler Murray, like, I mean, hey, we're running the fucking Cliff Kingsbury offense. If anyone needs some film study, I think it's Cliff Kingsbury. Like when I did my Kyler Murray analysis, like, let's be real here. I mean, not that I don't know. I just think that Kyler Murray over the course of the season last year improved a lot. I don't know. I think that's kind of a bait headline personally, but that's hilarious though. That is absolutely hilarious. I did not see that at all. That's great.
It's not great that your franchise quarterback has to have a contract with that, but I mean, it's going to be a thing all season now, right? Like it's just going to be.
See, I think that people might take that. Dude, if you're Kyler Murray, you can play, bro. The guy's been the number one quarterback for so long. The dude can fucking play. Kyler has that Jamarcus Russell work ethic. All right, so going back to Robert Tonyan, no impacts there?
Tanyan's coming off the injury. I kind of expected him to start it, but Christian Watson, I don't know what exactly.
Just copy and paste what I said about David Bell. Put it to Christian Watson. Same thing.
Again, same goes for David Bell here, but like it depends on how quickly they get back. Because just because you're on the PUP list on camp doesn't mean you can't participate in team meetings. You can't participate in team walkthroughs and all that kind of stuff. So you're still there and an active participant. You just may not be doing some of the harder drills or the contact drills or whatever the deal is. So I'm not too worried as long as they get back pretty quickly.
I mean, yeah, I'm not jumping ship.
The reason I'm worried about Watson more than Bell is that I just feel like the Packers receiver room is a little bit more competitive right now than the Browns. Yeah. Like, to me, dude, the Browns don't have
the Packers' number one receiver is like 31-year-old Randall Cobb.
Yeah, but they got like 9 guys that like you could see like, oh yeah, that guy could play. Oh yeah, that guy could play. Like you go down.
Lazard?
Cobb,
Lazard, Cobb, freaking Dobbs, Watson, the other dude they drafted in the 7th round, freaking tight ends.
Yeah, but all right, but
running back.
The Browns have Amari Cooper.
Yeah,
who's better than all? Like
the Packers
Amari
have no one even close.
Donovan Peoples-Jones, Anthony Schwartz. I feel like I'm forgetting someone, but
yeah. But the thing is that like, okay, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Anthony Schwartz. Like, I don't think that's it personally. If David Bell's a good player, I don't think those dudes are impacting him. I think it's David Bell that is the difference between those guys being successful and getting a lot of work versus David Bell busting. Like, if David Bell isn't good, it's because David Bell isn't good.
But I feel like same thing about Christian Watson. Like those guys they shouldn't be keeping Christian Watson off the field if he's good.
And aging Randall Cobb and Alan Lazard are not holding Christian Watson off the field if he's what you took him at the 34th pick to do.
When I pick up Randall Cobb in 90,
I like Randall Cobb.
Nothing.
I said Randall Cobb.
I don't mind the Randall. I like the Randall Cobb.
Don't pull this tone on me. Don't pull this tone on me.
I like Randall Cobb.
All championships. It's going to be sick. It's going to be.
We all like the Randall Cobb move. It's not
the only one here is Lounis that wouldn't like Randall Cobb. Yeah, you're talking. You're talking to Lounis, not us. We're
All right, Kyron Williams on the PUP list.
It does
Just add that to the list of bad things for Kyron Williams this offseason.
Yeah, but I mean, you knew that was coming. He had the broken foot. Like, it was just.
Yeah.
Michael Scarn, aka Michael Strachan on the Colts. He's on the PUP list.
Yeah, not great. Already.
Yeah, it's not good. He's done.
You know, the thing that is annoying is that Ashton Doolin towards the end of last season and for I think a good amount of last season. I didn't watch a lot of Colts games, so cut me a little bit of slack here, give me a little bit of rope. Seemed like he was getting the targets from that fourth or fifth Colts wide receiver role. And that I guess that's what's a little annoying is that if he comes off to an injury and what could potentially be a big offseason for him and a Colts wide receiver room, you talk about an open wide receiver room. I mean, you tell me who the second wide receiver on that damn team is. Like, who knows?
I feel like
the ghost of Jack Doyle.
I'm honestly surprised it's not Julio Jones. Like, I'm surprised Julio Jones didn't go.
Shocked.
But it must have been.
I'm shocked they didn't.
Dude, Joe Herbert saying the Packers need Will Fuller. I could easily see that on the Colts if Paris Campbell picks up an injury.
Yeah, there must be bad blood between Julio and Matt Ryan, honestly, for him not to go back to the Colts, like not to reunite on the Colts. Yeah,
James White. I guess that's a little bit annoying, especially with the amount
expected though.
I guess it's not terribly unexpected.
I mean,
I think this is a big one though. Michael Thomas. Speaking of Michael Thomas, if you had Michael Thomas, you just want to see him back. You want to see the proof in the pudding that this dude is playing on the Saints, right? Or playing for fucking anyone for that matter.
Yeah. Again, though, not that unexpected. The surgery, the second surgery wasn't that long ago.
The thing is, even though it's not unexpected, it still doesn't sit well with me. It's like Frank said, this guy's missed a year. You just want to see him on the field.
Yeah, Michael Thomas, though, he's a gamer, right? Like, when he's on the field, he's going to be good. It's just, let's not rush him back.
Michael Thomas 2 years ago was a gamer. What is he now? Who knows?
Daniel Bellinger and Sterling Shepard. I mean, I guess if we're going to go with JT's copy and paste, another rookie missing time, especially in an offense.
Yeah, but he has no time. Daniel Bellinger is literally he's competing with Ricky Seals-Jones.
Well, I think they're working out Eric Ebron as well, which could be a huge blow if they sign him.
Yeah, they
Bellinger
are.
I don't care about. He's just not going to be good in real life. Like, he's not.
I mean, Sterling Shepard, this guy lives on
that was expected.
Report.
Yeah, he's a guy that if he can't stay healthy, this is going to be his final year with the Giants. So,
CJ Uzomah also on the PUP list. I actually thought that Jeremy Ruckert was on the PUP list. I got a report that he was, but apparently he's not.
I'm not sure whether or not he is or not, but again, CJ is almost just this guy that, like, if Garrett Wilson's good, I just think at best he's like the fourth option on this team, which kind of puts him back into the realm of what he was on the Bengals.
So Jeremy Ruckert is on the NFI list. So the difference between the PUP and the NFI list, because there was another player who was on the NFI list, is it's an injury like outside of football activities, something along the lines of that. It's probably just a bunch of NFL jargon for you get an extra roster space for not having to put him on the PUP list. Maybe some contractual bullcrap where you don't have to pay him. So Uzomah and Rucker both on injury list. Potentially big news for that dude from the Vikings. What's his name? Conklin. Tyler Conklin. Because that's a dude, if you look at his stats, he had a lot more targets and receptions that you would think. I saw that early in OTAs or something that he was impressing, or a beat reporter was hyping him up, one of the two. So a dude that potentially you could pick up for free. I'm still not sure if he's worth a roster spot.
Nah.
But I think it's something to monitor as we go into the offseason as a guy that you could pick up for free that could be productive.
Elijah Moore, Garrett Wilson, Corey Davis, they're all better wide receivers. Like, they're all better in the receiving game than any of the Uzoma, Rucker.
I mean, no one's arguing that.
So, but then you're automatically the fourth option on this team, and it's just like, if I'm picking between three of these guys to be the fourth option on the team on the Jets offense that we're not entirely sure is even good yet, like, I've grown to like Zach Wilson a lot more recently. I wonder why, but it's just at this point, I don't think the tight end is going to be. If the tight end is good on this team, that means one of the wide receivers is not, which means something went wrong, like either an injury or just complete burnout from Garrett Wilson or Corey Davis. Because Elijah Moore, to me, I think is just very good.
NFI list includes injuries that carry over from college. Strange but true. So, I mean, I guess why is someone like Kyron Williams' injury not in the NFI list then? Is that just because of potential roster crap?
I believe it happened at OTAs. It counts as.
But all right, Jameson Williams. Why is Jameson Williams?
Yeah, that I don't know.
It's probably just
there might
contractual.
Be things behind the scenes that we don't understand, like potential contract stuff or something like that. But yeah, Joe Herbert, if you give at least me more insight on that, I'd love to hear it in the chat. That's very interesting to me. Logan Thomas, once again, injury from last year. You just hate to see it. You'd think that because he got injured early last year, you'd hope to see him not on the PUP list. And then Clyde Edwards-Helaire, that was kind of a surprise one.
It was late too, right?
Well, the thing is interesting. I saw as well that there was a mock Chiefs 53-man roster without Ronald Jones on it, and now CEH is on the PUP list. It's like, I guess, twofold question: does this mean anything for CEH? And at the same time, we saw the Chiefs bring in a bunch of undrafted free agents at the running back position. Is there any possibility, because we saw a guy like Derek Gore getting some workload last year, that potentially one of these Jerrion Ealy's, that Isaiah Pacheco, whatever, do you guys have a shot? Are they worth rostering / trying to trade nothing for right now?
Maybe, because
I find nothing like.
Listen,
a fourth,
whoever,
a late third,
whoever has
a third for fourth swap.
Nah,
Isaiah Pacheco, I think like a third for fourth swap you could definitely get.
You could do it. I
it's a risk. I mean, listen, I'm not doing it in any of my leagues, but that's why I'm asking you guys. Is it worth?
I'm not even sure he's better than Jerrion Ealy.
I mean, I might trade a fourth if I was high on a specific one of those guys, but I do think that one of these unknown backs or later round undrafted free agent backs has a chance. We've seen it with the Chiefs. Whoever is the starting running back on the Chiefs, whether that's been going even back to Kareem Hunt being super successful, having CEH be successful when healthy, and you got guys like Damian Williams, Darrell Williams, even Jerick McKinnon, whoever is the starting running back for this team puts up fantasy points. So if CH is going to miss time, I mean, he's gotten hurt. He got hurt last year. He missed time last year. He's now on the PUP. It's a little concerning. And I think this Chiefs team doesn't care who's running the ball, and whoever it is going to put up fantasy points. We've just seen it in the past, and I think it's going to continue as long as Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid are there. So I might take a swing on one of these guys.
I pulled up the Chiefs depth chart. As of right now, they have like 7 guys on their running back depth chart: Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Ronald Jones, Jared McKinnon, Derek Gore, Isaiah Pacheco, Tayon Fleet-Davis, Jerrion Ealy. Outside of CH Ronald Jones, the next 5 are essentially free.
Yeah, and I don't really want any of them. I just think this is CEH's team still. Like, I think it's going to be a CEH-led backfield.
It's definitely a CEH's backfield to lose. And
yeah, but how about just roster spot? If you could pick up a Tayon Fleet-Davis, a Jerrion Ealy, I think Isaiah Pacheco is on a lot of rosters already. Is it worth giving the roster spot for him.
Ely for free,
Yeah.
I would do. But outside of that, I'd say no. Because Pacheco, I think, is actually like in like he's drafted and everything, and at like a decent rate, and the price that he's at, I don't like it. So I don't know. I don't think any of these guys are really going to pan out, though.
I also agree with
McKinnon,
you.
any McKinnon shouts?
No.
Yeah, I'll take McKinnon for free if you're going to give it to me. I'm with Herbert on this one. He had a solid playoffs. Let's be real.
I mean, how many teams in the NFL have 7 running backs on their roster right now?
I mean, probably the Patriots.
Okay, outside of the Patriots. Is that anything of note? Like, is that telling something?
No.
I mean, I think it's just guys that they're willing to give a chance and maybe be a special teams guy. I don't think it means much.
Yeah, I'm not in on any of these guys.
I guess that's fair. I listen, I'm not rostering like any of them either, but I just wanted to pose the question.
All right.
So that's it for the PUP list. Players that are not on the PUP list that are interesting. We have 2, James Robinson, Chris Godwin, not on the PUP list.
Those are big. Those are big to me, especially the James Robinson news. I mean, people were worried about him missing time. I was worried about him missing time. Obviously, people are hyping up Travis Etienne coming back off the list, Frank. But this James Robinson news, if he's healthy to start the season, which it looks like he will, I think he's a real threat to be more of a timeshare than people think. I think people are going to just automatically assume this is Etienne's backfield, and it's just really not. I think James Robinson has earned it. I know it's a different coaching staff than who drafted him. I think he's 2 coaching staffs removed now, actually, from who drafted him. But still, he's a guy that's earned NFL touches, and the other guy, Travis Etienne, hasn't had a single regular season or preseason snap. So with that being said, I like James Robinson. If you could pick him up for cheap right now, I would go out and do so.
So yeah. I picked up James Robinson in, I believe, the 15th round of a startup. Is his price up from that right now?
Yeah,
I mean, definitely. I would assume so. I just think
Robinson has Achilles. I am out, says Joe Herbert.
Considering Etienne has a list, Frank, no, it doesn't. That the Achilles is better to come back from. Next question.
So, how about this? Not even on the James Robinson side. Are you now a little bit more concerned for Etienne, or does this not matter at all?
I just thought Etienne's been overpriced due to he was all right. I'm gonna go on my whole Etienne rant. Stand with me for like 30 seconds, right? Etienne stayed another year in college because he wasn't as good as Swift, Taylor, Dobbins, Akers, CH. So he stayed another year. Then he stayed that year, got drafted in the first round, which was good for him, but then got injured. And somehow he's still priced as a top 10 running back on Keep Trade Cut. And it just, I'm struggling to make sense of it because it's like he wasn't as good as the people that he stayed behind. Also suffered a big injury, yet he's ranked like above Cam Akers, who went a year earlier than him, like had an injury as well. It doesn't make sense to me, and he's very overrated. I feel like at this point, we're going to talk about him too, in a little bit, but and not to mention James Robinson's no slouch. Like he's going to be worked into this offense as well. Like it's not just Travis Etienne's back.
All right, now on to Godwin. I mean, I personally think that Godwin's price has to be a little bit higher. I actually kind of feel like a little bit of a schmuck for discounting him a little bit because of the injury, especially if he's able to come back. Let's not even count week 1. If he comes back week 4, right, which as of right now might seem a little bit
late. Honestly.
Yeah, like late, right? Yeah, that's the word. Like, I mean, this dude has been a top 15 receiver. He's reaching the prime ages of receiver. He's still with Tom Brady.
Yeah, I'm doubtful on this whole because, I mean, I get that they're running backs, but like J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards tore their ACLs like 5 months before Chris Godwin tore his ACL, and they're coming on PUP. I'm doubtful that he's actually 100%. I get it's different positions, but like, I don't know. Cortland Sutton is just the guy that I'd point to of a wide receiver who had a torn ACL that it took a little while to come back from. Like, I'm just not buying in yet that he's actually, 100% good to go, ready. Will even be ready for week 3 or week 4 and producing at his normal Chris Godwin output. And he's still priced at wide receiver 20, which is not
low.
He's ahead of Deontay Johnson, or no, he's right behind Deontay Johnson. He's with Terry McLaurin. I'd rather have.
I probably would just rather have Terry McLaurin, but it's definitely close. And he's in that whole tier, right? Because we've talked about that tier of receivers before, from probably wide receiver 20 all the way down to wide receiver 33, which is similar to the running back tier from like RB11 to RB19, where they're all very close. It's definitely manager dependent who everyone would rather have. ETN returned to school to work on receiving. I don't know, dude. I that's definitely been said, but like,
he was
already I like
ETN
still.
I don't know. I'm
pulling up.
No, I saw that. I think it was either Dabo, him. Someone did say that he did come back to Clemson to work on his receiving game.
I mean, he had 37 receptions in 2019 and then 48 in 2020. It's not like he had, compared to 12 in 2018. Yeah. It's the receiving game. That's just all mumbo jumbo, probably from his agent, because he won that first round contract, and he was in the 2021 running back class was just a significantly weaker running back class than 2020. So, I mean, where's ETN getting them? Especially for running backs, that first contract is so important. ETN was getting his money just in an easier way.
All right, I guess moving on to players that are on. This is season-ending IR, correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
We have Sincere McCormick and Justin Ross on season-ending IR.
It's Sincere McCormick. I knew he was injured coming in. I'm still kind of. I'll just start with Justin Ross while I'm looking up Sincere McCormick to make sure. But Justin Ross, it was always going to be, injury concerns was going to be his thing. He did have that foot injury that was bothering him throughout his final season in college. Not to mention his spinal injury that was keeping him off many teams' draft boards. So, yeah, injuries was obviously going to be what held him back. And any swing on him higher than like a mid to late third in this class felt like it was too high. Like, even I was against taking Justin Ross ahead of Tyquan Thornton, who's a day 2 receiver by the Patriots, who I did not agree with. But I mean, if you swung on him, you missed. It's fine. It's easier to just stash him on your IR or your taxi or whatever and just see what happens next year. But like, this was clearly always going to be the problem with Justin Ross, and it's kind of just coming true already. And it's pretty bleak at this point.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we sold him in our rebuild league for a third, and I like that a lot.
Yeah, I was pushing for it. Yeah, it's bad. Like a player that I really like, I'm pushing for a third, like pushing getting rid of for a third. It's probably not good.
I guess Sincere McCormick as well. It's just like a productive running back coming out of college, small school, but he had the horrible testing at the combine, and then now is on season-ending IR.
I'm trying to figure out what happened to him, but I can't find what exactly placed him there. I knew he was injured.
It could be one of those things where they're just trying to stash him. Honestly,
I mean, fair enough.
Like that's what it is.
Ain't a great look. All right, JT, you got a segment here.
Yes.
Take the floor, sir.
Well. Okay, so this is I think I've spoken about before on the podcast, but if I haven't, I'm just going to run through, or if you're new, I like the 32 NFL beat writers account, right? It gives you insight into the 32 NFL beat writers, right? Like, makes sense. It is what it is. So you get all of the reports from training camp. They're retweeting everything, whether or not the fourth string running back had a good run or if the seventh wide receiver on the team made a nice catch. But I think it's a very dangerous account to be following if you are new to the Dynasty world, or even if you're not new and you're kind of impulsive, because there's actionable items that you can take from that kind of account that could end up harming your team, right? So for an example, something that I would have brought up as an example if it didn't happen today was cutting Julio Jones for someone like, if you could scroll and look at the doc, Frank, we have tweets. If you were like, okay, Julio Jones, I'm kind of done with him. Like, let me just try and take a flyer on Isaiah McKenzie, right? Who is someone that's been around for a couple years. We have Dan Fetes. I'm going to go with Fates. Tweeting, Isaiah McKenzie is going to be a big part of the Bills offense this season. Big in all caps, right? He tweeted that out a couple days ago. NFL beat writers retweeted it. Well, he also said that he had a valuable niche in the offense 2 years ago. And Isaiah McKenzie, we've seen next to nothing from. I think he threw a touchdown pass one time to Josh Allen. That was kind of cool. But, like, you're going to see a lot of this at this time because, first off, the beat writers they need stories to drum up. They need, buzz and clicks, and what gets buzz and clicks in camp is stuff like that. I don't know, cutting. So I would have said Julio Jones. Now I'm gonna say someone like Will Fuller. I just saw someone drop Antonio Brown for like the seventh wide receiver on a team. I forget. I could pull it up, but like, I'd rather just have those established veterans than taking flyers on these random players before even saying these players like touch the field. And it goes both ways, right? Like, here's a player that I really like too, Trey Lance. And this guy's going, I spoke to a coach about Trey Lance. He's going to be a top 10 quarterback really soon, blah, yada, yada. But then, he also, this same beat reporter, Marco Mart 1205, also tweeted that the day that the Niners traded for Jimmy G was the smartest trade they could have made to get a franchise caliber quarterback. That was just 2 years ago. Yeah.
I also saw a report that was just like a rival exec thinks trading Jimmy G would be like Christmas for them, so they want him to trade Jimmy G. They're not sold on Trey Lance. So there's just so many conflicting reports going around. Like, it's so difficult to figure out what's true and what's not.
I'm like in chat. Joe said, Joe with the Lounis kind of hot take. 32 beat writers contains 32 beat writers. And then Robert Miller with the if big is an acronym for benched in game, I would say that Dan Fentes is on point for the Isaiah McKenzie tweet. Yeah. It's just, we're in that kind of, I say it every year because I've been victim of it too before, where Jody Fortson, the Chiefs tight end, I definitely dropped someone for Jody Fortson like a couple years ago thinking that he was going to be something because I saw a beat reporter tweet something about Jody Fortson. And he's done nothing. And then what did I see like 2 days ago? Oh, Jody Fortson, like man of the camp, like looking really good at Chiefs practice. Yeah, sure. I'm behind the 7 Chiefs wide receivers that are better than him. And Travis Kelce, like one of the top tight ends in the league. I'm sure Jody Fortson will maybe see the field once. Like, it's just very dangerous if you're new to the whole dynasty game.
Yeah, I mean, I do definitely agree, especially as we head in towards preseason. Like, a lot of people are going to be really excited about the NFL season. They're going to be watching preseason games. I honestly do think that preseason games are one of the biggest baits in the NFL.
Terrace Marshall.
Time and time again, we see players that do very well in preseason literally not get snaps during the NFL season. So that's definitely something to watch out for. And at the same time, in terms of the training camp reports, I think one of the things that's really hard to value is that, so I go to Steelers training camp every year. Not sure if you can see the background, but yeah, I'm kind of a Steelers fan. And I remember I was in Pittsburgh for a weekend, and I went to a couple days of training camp. And while I was there, like on the way home, because I don't know if you guys also get this, but like I feel like receptions in stadiums is always kind of spotty. So like after the practices, right? I'm looking at my phone and seeing what the beat reporters are saying on Twitter. And I remember seeing a good amount of Steelers beat reporters being like, "Oh, Deontay Johnson is not playing well at camp, this, that, and the other, blah, 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 blah." And that was the offseason last year where I actually had Deontay Johnson as like one of the most overrated players in the AFC North at the receiver position. And that training camp, that weekend I went to, I was like, dude, I am dead wrong. This dude is a fucking beast. I had liked Deontay Johnson a lot, but I thought that he had gone too far up in price. And that's actually why, one of the big reasons why we're going to have the day where we can retech our over-unders that we're going to get to in a moment here before the season is for something like that, right? News coming in the beginning of the offseason where you can change that. And to me, one of them was Deontay Johnson. And seeing a weekend where he just tore up practice and having some beat reporters saying like, "Oh yeah, this guy was a beast," which I agreed with. And some people saying, "Oh yeah, he was bad, dropping balls, this, that, and the other." It's like, dude, how do you trust anyone in the beat reporter section? And it just kind of always comes back to, what would you rather trust? Years worth of college data, which just has a better hit rate, or some beat reporters' opinions in the beginning of the season?
Auden Tate better than Jamar Chase. Never forget.
Like, obviously, neither is going to have a 100% hit rate, but just don't be a fool and take the one that does have the higher hit rate. You know, take the actual evaluations of people like some of the good scouts in the industry, some of the good data analyst guys in the industry, to heart more so than the opinions. Emphasis on the opinions of a lot of these beat writers. You will have a lot more success playing Dynasty doing that, especially for the higher value players. Yeah, listen, if you want to cut Samori Toure for a running back that's getting a lot of hype and a running back team with a low depth chart, go ahead, do that. That's a different scenario. But for a lot of the big name players that we already have had opinions on, that you have better data on, don't overthink it. Don't take too much stock in preseason. Don't take too much stock in other people's opinions that you don't have your eyes on. You're probably just better off not doing it.
Agreed. And that was kind of the point. But I think we could just move us along into what I would dub the Thursday night football division. The AFC South.
That is hilarious.
The Thursday night football.
Why I tell you guys, want to come over and watch Thursday night football? Like, who do you envision on TV? Because I totally see Jags,
Houston,
Titans. I see Jags, Titans, like just, a game in Jacksonville. You can see all of the bleachers, like you could see the stands and just how empty it is. Like, it sparks you to Google online how much a ticket costs if you were to go there, and then you realize, a flight to the game plus the ticket's probably going to cost me less than like a Patriots game. Like, this is a Thursday night football division.
Get out of here, Joe Herbert. Get out of here. The Senior Bowl actually does matter. You can't convince me otherwise. I love the Senior Bowl. I'm a Senior Bowl fan.
Senior Bowl. Hey, look at all these players that didn't come out a year early. That's the Senior Bowl.
I love the Senior Bowl.
At least for skill positions.
I think it matters more for quarterbacks than anything. I like to see how the quarterbacks can pick up an offense. I like to see how they command and lead men. And I don't know. the running backs, I think it's fucking worthless. Like, what are you doing in no pads? Like,
Yeah.
running against air, man.
Same thing for training camp in the NFL. It's like, dude, what are you getting out of this? Like,
Over-unders.
Right. Over-unders.
Over-unders.
South.
I have to use the restroom incredibly badly, so I'm going to go through mine really quickly here.
All right, I'll captain us through.
I'll be back in like a minute.
All right, see you, Frank.
Sorry.
All right, looking at Frank and I only disagree on Trevor Lawrence. Oh, I'm the only one that disagrees on Trevor Lawrence. All right, kicking off, Davis Mills. I think that's just a very easy overrated. First off, who's Davis Mills throwing to? It's Brandon Cooks, and then it's maybe Nico Collins. But then
I originally kind of thought that Davis Mills was underrated, but then I realized quarterback 23 is just too high. I thought he was more early in the offseason. He was down around quarterback like 30 something. So like at that point I had him underrated, but now he's just snuck up too high on me.
He's above Jameis Winston. Like,
which is absurd.
Ryan Tannehill.
Stop. Yeah, no. Exactly. Stop.
Okay. Yeah, Davis Mills is just he's not the long-term solution in Houston, right? This is a team that's going to be near the top of the draft boards. There's going to be an intriguing quarterback like that they're just not going to pass up on because Davis Mills is just not the guy. Like, he had a solid rookie season, don't get me wrong, but when push comes to shove, this is not the long-term answer in Houston. And it's not like a Jalen Hurts where it's like, is he, isn't he? And at least with Jalen Hurts, again, like, he's running the ball and everything and putting up crazy fancy numbers. Like, Davis Mills is just, he's not a mobile guy. Moving on, the Colts, we all have underrated on Matty Ice. Yeah, again, I would just rather have Matt Ryan than Davis Mills. I think their time as starters in the NFL is probably pretty similar, and I just think Matt Ryan's a better quarterback. Like,
I mean, Matt Ryan's the proven established veteran. He's 37. He's on kind of just obviously the way out of his career. He's going to the Colts. He's trying to win a ring. That team has a good defense, good running back. You know, I think he'll probably have a good year, maybe two, but that's about it for him. I don't see him playing much more than that. So I understand why Davis Mills is ranked over him, because you at least have the potential for the Texans fall to pick 8 and they don't actually want to take a quarterback there, and they just let Davis Mills go another year because he did okay with nothing. So like, you at least have that potential. Or Matt Ryan, he's going to be 38 next season. Is he really going to play? I don't know.
I think he will, but to me it doesn't matter because I think.
Oh, Matty Ice is the better quarterback. No one's denying that.
So Sam Ehlinger, easy, overrated. Like, he's just not.
Doesn't matter what he's ranked.
Doesn't belong on your roster. Then moving on to, this is where the debate happens, and I am not sure if Frank will be able to join us for it. But Trevor Lawrence, I'm saying overrated. You're saying underrated. The issue with Trevor Lawrence,
super underrated.
Super underrated.
I don't know about super. He's already a QB1. He's quarterback 11. I mean, I do think he ends up hopping up a few spots. I think he wasn't done any favors. That Urban Meyer coaching staff was an absolute fucking joke. His receiving core was not good. Not that it got much better, but you did add, Christian Kirk and Zay Jones, which are established guys in the NFL. You also brought in a guy in Evan Ingram, who I can't stand Evan Ingram, but he's a solid receiving tight end when he actually catches the ball. So, like, I do think this offense, you get Travis Etienne back, his college teammate. So I do think this offense, along with obviously Doug Peterson now at the helm, I think this team will be improved, and Trevor Lawrence is going to see that bump as well. He wasn't the number one most talented top prospect for years and years for no reason. He obviously has the talent, and now let him get a year under his belt. I think we're gonna see a big jump here from Trevor Lawrence in year 2.
I just think that a lot of the quarterbacks from last year's class are a little bit too undervalued from the struggles of last year in their rookie season, when a lot of these guys weren't in the ideal situation or given the ideal command of the offense that they probably should have deserved, or maybe a little bit too much command of the offense and they were a little bit overwhelmed. I think Trevor Lawrence is a dude that if you can trade for him at this 5,400 price, which on keep trade cut, that means that you can trade someone like CeeDee Lamb in a super flex league for Trevor Lawrence in a third. Or you can realistically trade for a 23 first and a second round pick, right? That to me is just worth it for a guy that has ridiculous level arm talent and will actually produce a little bit on the ground, probably rushing floor level numbers. I mean, I guess for those who don't know, I at least like to define rushing ceiling and rushing floor. Rushing floor is like a Russell Wilson kind of a guy, at least nowadays, where like he'll give you that 400, 500 yards in the ground, a couple of touchdowns. That'll give you that nice little floor of production where he doesn't have to be a Tom Brady level passer to be a QB1. Whereas the rushing ceiling is those Lamar Jacksons where like they're going to be an Elijah Mitchell with QB stats on top. To me, Trevor Lawrence is that type of quarterback where he'll give you a rushing floor. He has elite level arm talent. They brought in a lot of receivers, guys like Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, that really fit the type of offense that ideally Trevor Lawrence would like to operate with having some deep threats, some vertical guys that can really stretch defense. I just find very few scenarios where you trade for Trevor Lawrence at this price and you're unhappy with the results. I don't think you'll be able to get this price a lot of the time, but if you can, I think it's definitely a deal worth doing. I see him being a top 10 quarterback next year in terms of dynasty value.
I'm with you.
I guess really quickly to surmise my thoughts on some of the other guys, Davis Mills, there's just a little bit too much risk for me to invest in him. I don't think he's a bad player, but I just don't really want to invest in him at a low-end QB2 price, given the fact that he could easily not be in a starting job. I won't hate on you if you do get him or if you held on to him from a rookie draft last year and you just can't get the price you want to move on from him. But let's not act like Tyrod Taylor didn't produce in that Texans offense pretty good numbers as well. I think that offense got a little bit too much more shit than it was probably worth. Matt Ryan, I just think that he's a dude that's priced as if this is almost his last year. It's probably just more worth to buy him at this QB 29 price. You get a nice year two, maybe even more production out of him. QB 29? What? Come on. Why not? You plug him in as your QB2. He's a good player. Sam Ehlinger, probably not worth a roster spot. And we're here.
Yeah. I just think my thing with Trevor Lawrence is I think you're not getting him at the price that you're saying. Like, that's being said. There's also the issue is, like, Deshaun Watson's still ranked behind him. That's going to change shortly. I think what could change is Jalen Hurts, I believe, is ranked above him, so that could even itself out. But I think rather than this all generational talent that we've seen from Trevor Lawrence, I think we're just going to see a pretty solid quarterback, and that's just who he's going to be. And it's not as exciting. I think at this point, I just wish the Bears did literally anything else around Justin Fields, because I think I would have rather had Justin Fields than Trevor Lawrence. But
Stop it.
I mean, Justin Fields with arguably even less than Trevor Lawrence last year, like, wasn't bad comparatively speaking. Like, I like to do yards per pass attempt as my kind of general just easy metric, and Justin Fields was at 7, which is above average, and Trevor Lawrence was at 6, which is like middling of the road to kind of below. Like, 6 is kind of cutoff, where if it's below 6, you're...
Yeah, but dude, this offense is completely different now. They've completely overhauled their entire offense.
Yeah, but that's the thing, right? Where at least Justin Fields already has the built-in excuse. If he doesn't perform this year, it's like, who does he have? Like they lost Allen Robinson, and you replaced him with who'd they even get? Demarcus Robinson? I forget who they got.
Byron Pringle.
Byron Pringle, yeah. And then you instead of hiring like, you know, offensive minded coaches like a Nathaniel Hackett or something, we're getting Matt Eberflus. It's just like, you didn't do Justin Fields a lot of favors with Trevor Lawrence. Like you were saying, you went out, you got those players, you sacked probably the worst coach in the NFL in a while in Urban Meyer, and just the shenanigans that were happening in Jacksonville. So there's, you know, they've kind of eliminated a lot of excuses around Trevor Lawrence, where if Trevor Lawrence doesn't have, you know, a stellar season and he's just kind of average, well, maybe that's just who Trevor Lawrence is. Where with Justin Fields, it's like, okay, well, he's not been done any favors. Maybe finally the Bears can figure it out.
T-Law carries that 101 price tag. He's not cheap. Yeah, I agree. I think this is almost one of the reasons why I think he's definitely undervalued on this segment is simply because of one of the flaws of Keep Trade Cut. I think that a good amount of the quarterbacks on Keep Trade Cut are just straight up undervalued in the Superflex format on the site. I mean, we're going to get into Ryan Tannehill now. I think this is another guy that is just strictly undervalued in terms of value. I mean, QB 25, and more so than the QB 25, it's the 3,000, just over 3,000 price tag in terms of Keep Trade Cut points. I mean, you look at some of the guys that he's around, it's just worth the investment. It just is. I mean, this guy's been a low-end QB1, high-end QB2 for the past 2 seasons. He's done very well in both fantasy and for the Tennessee Titans.
And this is an offense that doesn't pass a whole lot either. Like they're one of the lowest in passing volumes in the league, and he's still doing this.
But like it's also because this is another dude that has a very underrated rushing floor. They will use his legs, especially in the red zone. I mean, I'll pull up the stats right now, but it's just like he's just a good player. It's just worth, especially if you need a quarterback. Like he's just worth investing in this price. Okay, rushing and receiving last year. 270 yards, 7 touchdowns. The year before, 266 yards, 7 touchdowns. The year before that, 2019, 185 yards, 4 touchdowns. That is a really nice floor of production that you're going to get, where it's almost every other game he's scoring a touchdown. I mean, yeah, it's not sexy. It's less than 300 yards, but damn, like that's impactful. That's another 7 touchdowns every season on top of his passing production. Excuse me, like. At a QB 25 price, I'm just going to invest in him time and time again at that value and kind of just ride the wheels off until he's not the starter anymore.
Yeah, it's fair. I mean, obviously the next guy we're going to talk about is Malik Willis, just because they did take him. Obviously, he fell all the way to the 3rd round. He is very closely ranked behind him at QB 27. You two have him as overrated. I have him as underrated. I think I know why you guys have him as overrated. You just think 3rd round quarterback. You know, Tannehill, like you just said, very underrated. I agree. So there's really no room here for Willis to really grow into anything that he was projected to be before the draft. Now, my counter argument is Tannehill's 33. We know he's been very good the past 2 years for Tennessee. This is a run-first offense, and he fits exactly what they want to do, being able to roll out of the pocket, kind of game manage it, hand the ball off a bunch. Best handoff in the league, if you ask me.
Matt Ryan would like a word, or actually Carson Wentz would like a word, excuse me.
Yeah, Carson Wentz would like a word. But
you talk about a handoff.
Tannehill has to be up there with the top handoff in football. Let's be honest. best skill I've seen him have. But let's be honest. You don't go out even in the 3rd round and take Malik Willis if you're happy with Tannehill. Like, it's just not a move. it's just not a move you do. I understand you need a backup quarterback, you need this, but to take a guy that was projected to be a top 10 pick at one point, and you obviously he falls all the way to the third. Teams didn't agree with what the scouts saw or what the analysts saw. But everyone sees the rocket arm. We saw that at the combine. There was no doubt he has a cannon. We saw the legs. He ran a good time in the 40. We know this. So, like, if Tannehill even struggles a little bit, people are going to be calling for his head. People are going to say, like, I want to see Malik Willis. Put him in the game. And I don't necessarily think Vrabel's one to really care or give a shit about those people. But eventually that time's going to come, whether that's, next season or the year after when Tannehill's contract's up. I don't know. But I think Malik Willis isn't dead. I think he's a guy that I'd like to stash on the taxi. Is he a little pricey to stash on the taxi at QB 27? Maybe. But again, he's at 2,700. It's, late second, mid-second, late second. I think that's a pretty fair price for the upside that he potentially could have.
Yeah, I think that Malik Willis is a really interesting player. I don't think he's drastically overrated by any stretch of the imagination. The thing is that when I think of Malik Willis, I think of Oreos, right? We saw...
Where is this going?
Give me a second. Let me cook, right? We saw birthday cake Oreos. Massive success, right? Lamar Jackson. We see a different flavor of Oreos. Oh, it's the Jalen Hurts, right? Comes out, lesser draft capital, massive success in terms of dynasty value. But is that going to work with Malik Willis? Is he going to be that flavor Oreos that really hits? That really hits the fucking spot. That you can dunk in that milk and start in your fantasy lineup every week. I don't know, bro. I don't know. I think we've seen it far too much too recently. I'm going to lean on the air of look at the data. Look at the data, right? These third-round quarterbacks, they're a risk. I just rather not invest in him at this 2,800 price, which is about a mid-second in terms of keep, trade, cut value. Listen, I'm going to err on the side of my classic double stuffs and take the top-end guys instead of trying to reach and find the new birthday cake Oreo in Malik Willis.
I think you just kind of want Oreos. I don't know why the Oreos.
I haven't had an Oreo in a hot minute. I used to be a big Oreo fan.
Well, I think it's robbery is the nutrition facts on Oreos. It's like 180 calories, I think. For the pack of 6, it says 180 calories. But that's actually for just 3 Oreos. It's not for all 6. So it's really 360 calories for a whole thing of Oreos. That's a lot more.
Size, it's 180 calories per serving size, JT.
Yeah, per 3. But why is the serving size not a full package? Who eats just 3 Oreos?
Malik is no filling Oreos. He has no shot in the NFL. Double stuff, baby, dude. Yeah. Parker, you're on my. I love double stuff Oreos. They are so.
Double stuffed Oreos are only spelled with one F. Common misconception.
Honestly, okay. I think the mega stuff is just too much.
I've never had a mega stuff Oreo.
Double stuff is definitely the sweet spot, but sometimes mega stuff hits.
Just take whatever Frank felt about Kellen Mond last year. Just apply it to Malik Willis this year. It's just the third round quarterbacks. People fall for him every year. I mean, shoot, I probably like Matt Corral. I still kind of liked it. Sam Howell even went to the 5th round. I still kind of like, but like the rate's just so low on them at the price that they're at. It's just like Frank saying in his Oreo analogy. Just give me the double stuffed Oreos.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't hate it because there is upside though. Like we've just seen it time and time again. Not really though. Rushing quarterbacks, they just need to play and they can produce points.
Well, let's play it out this way, right? You want to know a third string quarterback who had, like Joe was saying in chat, he had the second best rookie season last year. He was a third string quarterback. That's Davis Mills. Davis Mills is quarterback 23. Like, all right. Hey, he wasn't presumed to be the starter. Took a Tyrod Taylor injury and everything. And it's just like, even with him having a very good in terms of expectation season, I get like where Malik Willis could be like better and be like the actual Russell Wilson third round QB, but like it's just chances are so low of that happening. What chat say?
It's Bodicher. I'm crazy.
Let's
The
go
Mets
Mets,
are
baby.
currently winning.
All right, let's go into the Texans.
This running back room. Oh my god.
This running back room is just atrocious.
4 straight O's for me.
I actually think that Damian Pierce and Rex Burkhead are underrated.
Yeah, I like Rex Burkhead considering he is literally free. But other than that,
I like Rex Burkhead, Patriot, but I don't see him. I don't want him on my roster. Like, I'd rather just roster some young other running back on a.
yeah, I just
Weird
don't
team.
see this time next year him being valued more than he is, even if he has a good season.
You know, the reason I have Damian Pierce as underrated is that it's not that I think he's drastically underrated. I just expected Damian Pierce to carry that Ryan Tannehill price tag, right? I expected to see that 30-41 next to Damian Pierce's name. This is a dude that could easily be the 1A of the Texans. I don't think that they're necessarily going to have a bell cow running back, but this could be a guy that does see a solid 14 to 17 touches a game, and that could be kind of sneaky productive.
The problem I have with Damian Pierce is exactly the same problem that we saw with Michael Carter. And it's just that, yeah, he might have a good season, but he can be replaced at any second. He was a 4th-round pick. There's not a lot of draft capital on him. And it's just one of those things where, again, he might have a good season. And I think he probably will just because his team's backfield is aging beyond belief. The youngest guy in the backfield is not named Damian Pierce, is Marlon Mack, who's been injured the past 2 years. So, like, he doesn't have a lot of competition. But this time next year, do they pay up and take one of these high expected young running backs in next year's class?
Well, I mean, I agree with you there completely. That's why if I had Damian Pierce and he was producing pretty heavily, I would have a quick trigger finger to sell him for a profit. But that being said, I would rather have Damian Pierce than a guy like what's that Bucs guy's name? Rashad White.
Oh,
I'd just rather have Damian Pierce than him. I honestly think that Damian Pierce has an argument for being the RB3 right now in this rookie class, which isn't saying that Damian Pierce is crazy. I think that's more of a testament this running back class is bad. But I mean, this guy's got all the opportunity in the world. All these dudes behind him are kind of proven scrubs.
I think he's worse than Michael Carter in my eyes. Michael Carter from last year, and I just think it's going to be very similar, where it's a player who comes into an awful, I guess a very good situation, an awful running back room, takes the job, and then what's to stop him from just a different team coming to get him?
I heard the Texans are bringing back Arian Foster's Chiefs buffs over Cheetos. Come at me, bro. I think it depends on the mood I'm in with the Chiefs buffs over Cheetos.
That's probably the most I've ever agreed with Joe Take in chat.
You know what's very underrated? Cheese balls. Cheese balls are underrated.
No,
I think they're they fill the same niche as Chiefs puffs. I think I'd rather have a cheese puff than a cheese ball.
Really?
Yeah, I agree with Frank.
That big jug of cheese balls, nothing better than that.
They should just make cheese puffs come in the jug.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
I think I would like them more if they came in the jug. I mean, you talk about surrounding your players with talent. I mean, that's exactly what you got to do with your cheese puffs. You just got to surround them in that jug. You surround them with some talent.
All right, the Colts. I originally had an O on Nyheim Hines, but I just think he's only a couple years removed from a running back 2 overall season, as in he's 2 years removed from that. And we didn't see it a whole lot last year with Carson Wentz and this weird offense that was going on with the Colts. But I think with Matt Ryan, I think we are going to see a Nyheim Hines involved more in the passing game. And especially with the lack of receiving talent that they have, on top of the fact that he's running back 53 behind Jonathan Taylor, who had some of the most carries last year. Even if Taylor goes down, I don't think this is Hines' backfield to lead, but he's definitely priced very cheap for what he could be this year.
Listen, dude, I think this is a simple equation for me. I roll up to the gym, right? I roll up to my gym battle in Pokemon.
Oh,
And
we're talking about
I am a
Red Sox, right?
one minion Andy. I am a one Pokemon Parker.
You're the classic over-leveled starter Pokemon guy.
This is Jonathan Taylor in this backfield. This is my over-leveled starter. Yeah, Naheem Hines might see a little bit of work, but at the end of the day, this dude is a glorified Sackmon. All right, I am rolling out here with my stud, and I am rolling him until the wheels roll off. All right, this dude is carrying me. I like Naheem Hines. I think Philip Lindsay's a good little player. I think they're worth rostering at their current price. Long term, Jonathan Taylor is the only dude I want. He's the only mon I want on my team. He's the only one I need.
I don't know, dude. I just think 330 carries last year for Jonathan Taylor. I think we're going to see Naheem
Pump those
Hines
numbers
involved.
up, baby. Let's see 350. Let's see 400.
He's cheap. He's really cheap.
Travis Etienne is a tough one for me.
No, double overrated. Double O.
I mean, I had my whole rant on him. Like, you know how I feel. Same thing with James Robinson, especially with him already not being on the PUP. I get that he had the Achilles injury, but again, he's got a place in this offense.
I just think that Travis Etienne being at the top of this tier of running backs that we always talk about, this like RB10 all the way down to RB19, realistically, Travis Etienne is in the same tier as a guy like David Montgomery. Yes, Travis Etienne is probably the pick over David Montgomery more times than not, but he comes with this higher price tag. There's a lot of risk involved. I do like Travis Etienne. It's just I'm a little bit too skeptical to invest him at RB10. That's high. He does have upside, but a lot of that is starting to become priced in, right? We saw this guy over the course of the offseason go from like what, probably RB20 all the way up to RB10, raise about 500 to 600 keep trade cut points. It's just gone a little bit too far.
I mean, everyone's just going back to the hype, pretending like he never had an injury. This is where he was rated after the draft last season, and it's just he's a year older and a major injury, post-major injury. This is just absolutely absurd. Just look, like, the fact that he's only 400 keep trade cut points behind Trevor Lawrence in a super flex ranking is ridiculous. It's not even close. I know Trevor Lawrence had a bad year for what he was expected to be, but he wasn't done any favors. Like, it's just crazy that you could trade Travis Etienne in a second based on that price for Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah,
every single time. Every single time.
Yeah,
I
agree
about this, but
I grabbed Lindsay off waivers in case injury hits the Colts RBs they are due. Yeah, I mean, listen, I put overrated on Hines and Lindsay, but I think that's definitely, like, they're worth rostering, and they're probably around worth. I mean, Philip Lindsay to me is worth getting at that 416 value. He's literally free at that point. Naheem Hines, you're giving up a mid-third for him. I'm not going to come out and say that that's a bad deal grabbing one of those guys, especially if you're a super RB needy team and you don't want to give up a ton of assets. I just think that there's a better chance that their values are lower next year, but in terms of they could be worth it for your team at some point during the course of next season, that's fine. And speaking of which, Derrick Henry is in this weird range for this segment where it's like, we all know his value at the end of next season is going to be lower. So I'm inclined to put an O. But, I mean, this dude is worth getting at 4,800. I mean, if you're a team trying to win a championship, flipping Travis Etienne for Derrick Henry and getting, like, a third for fourth swap on top, if you're trying to win a chip, was like...
Yeah, okay. Every single time. If you're a contender, every single time.
I mean, especially if let's say you have a first or two in the bank in future years, it's like Listen, I hate throwing the O next to Derrick Henry, but I just want to
I
do this
wanna.
to be right by the end of next season when we look back at these numbers. This is worth investing in Derrick Henry.
It like
100%.
you're right, because it doesn't matter what Derrick Henry does this season. No matter what he does this time next season, he will be ranked lower because he will be a 29-year-old running back with a load of just carries and tread on his tires. So there is just no way that he's not lower this time next season, despite him probably having another running back one season this year.
Haskins I like as a flyer, but currently he's kind of ranked a little bit above a flyer price.
I don't. I was never a Haskins guy. I just think he's just a jag, but that's fine.
I agree with JT. I'm throwing the underrated tag on him simply because, I just think in terms of like handcuff running backs, he might be one of the top ones for me. Now, I'm not going to invest in him at this price, but it's just worth it. Like, to me, Hassan Haskins, it reminds me of what Gus Edwards was a couple years ago. So, like, very high valued handcuff. If you invest him at this price, fine. It's worth it, especially if you're picking up the Henry handcuff.
It's just a little too high for my liking.
But like Joe Herbert just said, this is my problem with him. I don't see that Haskins is the future in Tennessee. I agree with that. But just because I think he's one of the more high-valued handcuffs, I think I'd rather take him underrated over the RB55 price tag. I mean, this 1641 is valued under a third. I don't know if I would pay a third for him. I just think he's better than this price, I guess, all in all. I think it's pretty fair, though. I'm not going to come out here and say, oh, he's wildly underrated. No.
Well, we rolling into the tight ends?
Yep.
This division, I think the tight ends are pretty brutal.
I like all of them.
Yeah, I actually kind of like. I kind of agree with JT. I kind of like these tight ends, low key.
So
there's a few of them that I like, but other than that,
kicking off Brevin Jordan, I have him underrated. You two have him overrated. Brevin Jordan actually had he didn't do a whole lot. He had 28 targets, 20 catches, but it was only in 9 games last year. So a little over. Yeah, he had about 3 targets per game. But now we're looking at second year Brevin Jordan on this team with essentially Brandon Cooks, Nico Collins, Chris Conley. Like, I don't really know who you're going to even say is the second wide receiver. Like, there is room for Brevin Jordan to grow. He had really good yards per route run. Like, I don't know. I'm taking the flyer on him. Then Jelani Woods, athletic freak. I think you're kind of just paying that kind of price for what he could end up being, which is nasty if he pans out. I think you guys are in the same boat there. Mo Alley Cox, I've kind of seen it enough now, and they brought in just even more athletic guy in Jelani Woods that I'm kind of done with Mo Alley Cox.
Yeah, but I just think Mo Alley Cox is the veteran there. He's the guy that, is going to kind of just run this room, whether because he's with 2 very young guys and Jelani Woods and Kylan Granson. So I just think he's going to get his targets just because of who he is. He's established himself that he's a real NFL player, and obviously it's a new quarterback, but I still think he'll get his targets. And for under 1,000 keep trade cup points, I like that one.
Yeah. So you're out on Kylan Granson. I think that's where Frank.
Yeah, I think Jelani Woods. I liked Kylan Granson last offseason, but I think the addition of Jelani Woods is just like the same thing. And you're not going to do that if you were happy with him. So I'm out on him.
This is a Colts team where I think we're going to see like significant amount of 22 personnel. Like, this just feels like a 22 personnel team.
I just think that a lot of these teams in this division, I mean, we'll get to the receivers, but it's not like these receivers are like crazy. So, I mean, for the price, I'm not coming out here and buying up these tight ends, but you can pick him up for cheap. Like, I don't really know what the hell the Colts receiving core outside of Michael Pittman is going to be. I think there's a decent chance that one of these tight ends could be low-key nice, kind of like a Hunter Henry last year. I don't think they'll have long-term value, but I mean, Jelani Woods I like as a prospect. I don't think he'll be crazy this year, so I think that gives an opportunity for Mo Alley Cox or Colin Granson to be productive this year. Brevin Jordan I'm not really into. Simply because, like, I mean, you look at it, he's the highest priced tight end. I think it's a fair value for him, though. Like, I have a couple shares of Brevin Jordan, surprisingly, because I'm not a huge Brevin Jordan guy. The problem is that, like, it's just not worth to sell him at that price. It's just not.
Yeah. I mean, tight end 20 seems like it would be high, but then, like, you look at what he's, like, ranked around and...
Wait, you want to give him up for a mid-third? What's the point? What is the point? I think it's just like, I think all these tight ends are just fairly valued. I mean, you're probably investing in a waste lord, but
there's not a lot exciting going on here other than maybe Jelani Woods, kind of. And then there's just fairly priced. I mean, you know how I feel about Evan Ingram. Me and Dan Arnold are feuding. It's fine.
Well, like Evan Ingram, right? Evan Ingram, there's not a ton of upside left in Evan Ingram, but he could definitely be a productive tight end for you this year. 100%.
It's not out of the realm of possibilities that the dude who put up one of the best rookie tight end seasons ever just, you know, kind of refigures it out on the Jaguars with a new team.
And be that, like, what, tight end 11, tight end 8 over the course of the season, where it's like, yeah, he's not a world beater, but he's good enough to where he's your tight end 1 if you don't have one of those studs. That's fine. If you pick him up at tight end 22 price, cool. If Evan Ingram goes down, we saw Dan Arnold can be relatively productive. He's also the rabbit's foot of your league. You pick him up, you instantly have the luck factor on your side. And then lastly, going into Austin Hooper, it's like, I think Austin Hooper is actually one of the more underrated tight ends in the league right now. I don't like Austin Hooper all that much. I thought he was wildly overrated when he was on Atlanta and going for those higher prices. But now that he's off of a Cleveland team, it's almost like where non-running backs go to die, that he can't be a low-end tight end 1. I mean, I see Austin Hooper as another guy that could be a dude that gets like 80 to 90 targets, a handful of touchdowns, and can be a tight end that, like, it's not the sexy play, but he could be a dude that you can start, and if you really need a tight end as a contender, you could potentially rely on in like a two-headed monster tight end situation where you have like Noah Fant and Austin Hooper, and you just kind of play whoever's hotter or who has the better matchup or something.
I think he's worse than Jonnu Smith, and then there's Robert Woods and Treylon Burks. I think will just out target him, and this is an offense that is near the league bottom always in passing attempts. Where I don't think he's going to be that relevant. He's going to be a very touchdown dependent player.
Woods is mega raw, but worth a dart throw in deeper leagues. I think he's worth a dart throw in a lot of leagues. I'm not the biggest Jelani Woods guy, but the fact of the matter is I just think he's too cheap.
I would have been drafting him in second rounds in rookie drafts, 2022 drafts.
Well, that's what I thought his price was going to be. I thought that this dude was going to creep into the late second in a lot of drafts, but the fact of the matter is he's like a late third. And I think that, to me, Jelani Woods, with his draft capital, with his athleticism, yeah, the film isn't the best, but I think he's worth that late third pick that it seems like he was consistently going at. And he was someone that I just expected his price to rise over the course of the offseason, but it kind of did the opposite. It kind of just decreased as the offseason went on.
Which is surprising, too, because they haven't brought in anyone else. Like, there's no extra Colts wide receiver that's going to be like, you know, like if Julio Jones signed there or Will Fuller signed there, it's more understandable. even though I don't really expect much from a tight end in his rookie season, but there's no real reason to have dropped him in your ranking.
Yeah, that was just honestly one of the things of the offseason that surprised me the most was Jelani Woods' price tag in rookie drafts, especially in a weaker rookie class. Like, I was just kind of shocked that this guy was not getting taken higher in drafts. And you look at this under 1,500 price tag, like that's almost less than a third, is it? Like,
might be. Let's see.
It's around a late third, I'm pretty sure, on Keep Trade Cut.
1,500 is looking like, yeah, it's mid third. It's 2022 mid third.
Yeah, I was definitely surprised by that this offseason, because like on draft night we were thinking that Jelani Woods was one of the bigger winners of the draft with his draft capital. Like, we all knew that his tape wasn't the best and that he was an athletic freak, but it was like, okay, does the draft capital meet the athletic freak? And it did, but we didn't see the price increase. Exactly. And like JT said, in a very open offense where targets are up for grabs.
Well, speaking of open offense, targets up for grabs, Texans wide receiver core.
Yeah, this one we're all gonna throw the U on it. This is one of those classic. Okay, we all have him underrated. You're never gonna get him for this price. He's in the fucking hard mix-in paradox. Brandon Cooks is.
Yep.
No one wants to give him up for a second. Everyone wants to buy him for a second. That's just the reality.
Well, Metchie, obviously, with the cancer news, hope he gets better. But in the meantime, it's just going to drop from there. And then the other two are going.
Oh, Frank had a U on him.
Wow. I just don't see how he goes up, though.
Yeah, I think this is a long-term U. I think that John Metchie's a good player. He's a dude that I liked a lot pre-draft. I mean, fact of the matter is, this 2,300 price, you're right, will drop, and that's part of my U. If someone's panic selling for a third, I'll scoop him up and put him on my taxi before the season starts. Keep him for 2 years. I think he's a talented player. He's a good player. His profile, for whatever reason, is a lot more shat on than it probably should be. He's productive as a sophomore, came out early, has good draft capital. He's not the sexiest dude. He does have his problems, but fact of the matter is, he checks a lot more boxes than people give him credit for. I'll throw the U on him.
Then the rest of the guys, Nico Collins, you put in overrated. I almost did. Chris Conley, I think actually might see action this year, which is why I'm putting an underrated on him.
I mean, he's I think one of the last ranked wide receivers in all of Keep Trade Cut. So just to be relevant and be playable, it puts an underrated tag on him.
I kind of wanted to put an overrated on Nico Collins, but I just he's the second wide receiver in this offense, I think. So
yeah.
I think Nico Collins is pretty fairly priced, right on the edge of a second to third. But kind of like I was saying earlier, if he goes up at all, I'd rather just sell him than buy him.
Yeah.
I would also rather just sell.
I have Nico Collins in a bunch of leagues. I'm hoping he goes off in the first few weeks and people are like, oh, 23-year-old going off.
Any second I'm probably taking for Nico Collins. All right, the Colts. I almost put a U on Michael Pittman, believe it or not, because 4,900 does not seem like he's in the realm of a wide receiver one season this year. I think with Matt Ryan as his quarterback, no real competition for targets. But at the end of the day, there's just a lot of receivers I like better.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I like Pittman a lot as a prospect, but I think the hype has gone a little bit too far. I just don't really want to invest in any of these receivers, given the risk of the uncertainty of their offense and, the fact that they're probably going to be a run-heavy team. I don't really know what the hell's going to happen, so I'm probably just going to stay away. There probably is upside, but
I'm right there with you.
I'm not confident in any of these guys. And okay, yeah, I'm confident in Pittman, but at wide receiver 15 price, at this 4,900, I'm just selling more than I'm buying.
Yeah, I think Pittman's honestly like well overpriced. I think he should be more closer to like wide receiver like 22. If we're being honest, I think he's well overpriced. I kind of like Alec Pierce. I think you can get him pretty cheap. He's only at 2,600. You're looking at mid-second. I think that's a pretty solid price for a guy that has a realistic shot to be the number 2 in this offense.
Yeah,
Really
I'm
quickly,
pretty sure
this is my problem with Pittman.
Okay.
Is this large discrepancy, a 301, potentially even a second, between Cortland Sutton and Michael Pittman? My God, Nico Hartman and Terrace Marshall are overrated. This is what I don't like about Michael Pittman. I think that he should be at maybe a smidge higher than Cortland Sutton, a couple hundred points, but not this 500 point difference. I think that that's overall my problem with Pittman right now. And if I could get this kind of deal done, and I know this is going to be a 301 or a late second, that's something that I'd be very interested in doing, especially as a contender.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'd move from Pittman to like a Hollywood, or a Pittman to a Bateman, or Pittman to Elijah Moore.
Like straight up?
No, because they're all ranked like right around where Cortland Sutton is. Maybe a little bit higher. So I don't know. Bateman in a 4th, I would take for Pittman. Same thing with Elijah Moore. I just like the other guys better in the long run.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one, JT.
All right. Moving on to the Jaguars. This is probably going to be where we have our greatest discrepancy. Jake's the one out on Christian Kirk. I'm not following the money guy. I'm not following the money guy, but we're talking. I think he's the lead wide receiver.
It's not follow the money. It's follow the fact that this guy just put up a 1,000-yard season and is priced like he put up a 500-yard season.
Thank you. Yes.
I've never been a Christian Kirk guy, but this price is ridiculous. We're talking about a 25-year-old player who is before the bell curve of peak production, right? A year before the bell curve of peak production, that just got a massive contract with a quarterback that completely fits his skill set 1,000%, in an offense where he should be the number 1 guy in targets. Why is he not closer to a first-round pick than he is? I mean, this just does not make sense to me. This is why I have him in the stock market segment. I do not know why Christian Kirk is not valued higher than he is. I know a lot of people have a sour taste about the Jags offense because of how bad they were last year. But to me, Christian Kirk is in a prime spot to produce what he did last season, and I'm pretty sure he's cheaper than he was last year. Or at least the same price, which he was a smashing buy last year if you got him.
I like me some Christian Kirk.
He had a good year last year, but to have a good year, it took this offense being good, the Arizona offense taking a step forward. It took DeAndre Hopkins missing a significant amount of time. It took having James Conner be good, so they have to actually respect the run game. There was a lot of things that fell into place here to give Christian Kirk the 1,000 yards and 5 touchdowns or whatever the hell he had. So, like, I'm not going to bet on it happening again, let alone in Jacksonville, where the offense is worse. The offense is just going to be – you don't have Kyler Murray running it. You don't have DeAndre Hopkins on the other side. You don't have – it's just unlikely that it happens again. I liked Christian Kirk coming out of college. He's done nothing in Arizona to really wow me. I know he had a solid season last year, but I'm just out. If I could get this 3,200 price, and if you're willing to pay more, and if people are willing to pay more because they're following the money, I'm going to cash out.
I am just shocked that Christian Kirk is not valued in that Mixon paradox range between a first round and second round pick.
I mean, I think to give up a first round pick or even consider giving up a first round pick is kind of fucking ludicrous if we're being honest. It's just nuts.
Like, I don't know if I go that far, but it does feel like a lot for Christian Kirk.
If I'm giving up a first round pick, there is a caliber of player I want back, and a Christian Kirk who may be a wide receiver 3 on a good fantasy team. That's not what I'm giving up a first round pick for.
To me, Christian Kirk checks about every single box of a buy low that you could possibly check.
Well, that's the guy right underneath him, Laviska Shenault, wide receiver 75, criminally underrated.
T-Law knows where the playbook is.
I don't want anything to do with Laviska Shenault.
He's wide receiver 75.
Yeah,
I'll sell him there. I'd sell him at wide receiver 99. I'd sell him at Michael Scarn's price.
Hater. Laviska Shenault is going to be in the top 50 wide receivers next year.
I don't know.
How much you want to bet on that, JT?
Well, let's make a pod bet.
Name the price.
What's a pod thing that we could do? Lounis and I have the clown bet already, so I can't double down on a clown. I was gonna say I could give up the intros, but I don't really know if that's anything of actual value. Just being
depends on how Frank feels about it.
Yeah. I don't know. Anyone in chat can think of like a podcast kind of bet that we could do?
Regardless of the price,
we'll get back to it. We'll get back to it. Yeah, you're a Laviska Shenault hater, certified hater.
I mean, at this price, it's hard to really call him overrated. I mean, he still has the potential. He still has the draft capital in him. It's just whether there's enough mouths to feed. Like, if he's going to get enough target share in this offense with all the additions that they had this offseason, I don't know. I would say he goes up. I don't know if he goes top 50s, but I think he goes up from receiver 75 at least.
I think right now he should be ranked around the likes of a Hunter Renfrow, who's wide receiver 42.
Oh, I mean, Renfrow just came off like a fantastic season. I know it took a lot for him to be successful as well, but like...
Yeah, and guess what just happened to him? Oh, they just added in none other than Devontae Adams. Like, Hunter Renfrow is not going to repeat that 1,000-yard season. And you're acting like Laviska Shenault didn't put up like 800 yards.
Would you trade Godwin for Kirk and a 23 seconds? I think you could get more for Godwin. Like, initial reaction of that without doing any more exploratory analysis, it feels like you're selling low on Godwin.
I like that. Loser does 5 minutes of stand-up comedy. 5 minutes kind of feels like a lot for a podcast.
5 minutes is a long time.
Like, 2 minutes, 30 seconds.
Wait, on the pod or?
Yeah, I feel like it's got to be on the pod. Well,
dude, I would kill that. I'd have everyone rolling.
I mean, I'm down to do that. 5 minutes just feels like a lot, though, for a Dynasty-centric pod. But like, if it was like a 3-minute opening, like a cold open 3 minutes, like you just gotta
cold opening 3 minutes.
I'll take that pod bet. 3 minutes of stand up.
Yeah.
On the pod.
Yeah. Let me put that in my reminders. Laviska Shenault has to be a top 50 wide receiver on keep trade cut by
this time next year.
Yeah, so I'll put it.
Well, what about that trade? Godwin for Kirk in a 23 second.
No.
Just feel like you get more for Godwin, Joel.
Yeah, you could definitely get more for Godwin,
especially with the news that he's going to be. I feel like a lot of Godwin's value's taken a hit because of the perceived he's going to miss half of the season. The fact that he's not in the PUP, I might let that marinate a little, bro.
Yeah, I agree. If you let it marinate and let people, the market adjust, keep trade cut adjust to the news, I think his value is only going to go up from here.
Because I mean, listen, I like Christian Kirk a lot, but you're talking about trading a guy that probably should be priced at and has been a top 15 receiver in the league. Like, if he's out there producing like he did last year by week 3, I think you would, if you want to trade for Christian Kirk, I think you would be better off trading other assets for Kirk than that Godwin deal.
Frank,
Also depends on what the 23 second is. Because if that's a 201 23 second, that might change the story a little bit. But I'm assuming it's not. I'm assuming that's a late second.
Frank, I'm gonna be honest. I'm kind of worried about our bet, but just because like you might be so good at stand up that you like leave us and fly away on the world tour.
I got to start coming up with some bits. I've already got a couple in the back of my head.
Well, you got a year to work on it, so we'll see.
All right, let's finish this up. Wrap up the receivers here with Tennessee. Interesting group. I think it's a really interesting. I think it's an interesting group. I like Westbrook Akina. I think he showed a little bit last year that he'll have a nice role as a wide receiver. 3 in that offense.
I like Westbrook Akina too. I just struggled, like, because I have him in like 2 leagues, and I don't think he's a bad player. I just struggle to see where he's really relevant.
I mean, the relevancy would come if Robert Woods is not ready week 1. And then he could step in immediately week 1 and be that wide receiver 2 with a rookie as the presumed wide receiver 1. I think, Tannehill already has the familiarity with Westbrook Akina from last year. And I think that's the reason, even with Robert Woods, like he new to the team, he's the only guy that really has a, rapport with Tannehill at this point. I just think that for 1,000 keep trade cut points, wide receiver 104, I think he's underrated.
Where's the rookie that's on this team? What's his name? That Joe Herbert likes a lot.
Who?
Oh, I know who you're talking about, but he's useless.
Why is he not here?
Because he won't matter. I know exactly who he's talking about too, but hold
on. He should be on keep.
Kyle Phillips. Cut, right? Kyle Phillips.
Is he not on keep trade cut? Yeah, he is on keep trade cut. What? Did my script messed up? Oh, yikes!
We didn't get Kyle Phillips.
I mean,
he's 147. He might not have made the cut when it got scraped. I mean, just give me a big fat O on that, though.
I'll add him in just for you, Joe Herbert. 161. What is he valued at? 147. That's kind of concerning.
Yeah, imagine we missed like some big name player. Like we just never talked about. I don't know. I'm just gonna say Tom Brady, but like.
How old is Kyle Phillips? God, I can't type right now. 25? Holy shit, he's 25?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to join you, JT.
No, wait, he's 23. He's 23.
He's 23? Did I have the wrong... Is there another famous Kyle Phillips?
There might be.
I feel like he's probably a NASCAR driver. That sounds like a NASCAR driver name.
That does.
Yeah, I think Treylon Burks is very underrated. I mean, we're talking about a guy that has been and should be a top 5 Dynasty rookie pick, and you can pick him up at 4,500 keep trade cut points. A lot of the slander has come from the asthma stuff this offseason. I mean, listen, this is even before training camp. Like, let's relax a little bit. Very productive in the SEC. I honestly wasn't the biggest Treylon guy in the world, but the draft capital was a check. The landing spot was a major check. And the fact of the matter is that he's just probably not priced as he should be. I'm pretty sure he's under Chris Olave right now, and I'd rather have Treylon than Olave straight up. I think that this is a guy that is attainable in leagues right now. It's worth to attain, it's worth to draft, and he's just kind of undervalued. I mean, going into Robert Woods is an interesting one because he's coming off the major injury. Extremely productive player. I feel like Robert Woods is one of those types of guys that I would have wanted to trade for, but for some reason, there's this little guy on my shoulder. I'll put the one on screen. There's this little guy on my shoulder telling me, Frank, don't do it. Don't trade your second for him.
Why? I mean, I
don't know. Maybe it's because the Rams gave up on him with the injury. Maybe it's because he's going to a team that doesn't pass the ball a lot. I can't.
A 30-year-old wide receiver. 30-year-old wide receiver coming off a major injury, moving from one of the most pass-heavy offenses, where he was still only a fantasy wide receiver 3, to one of the least passing attempts offense in the entire league. So there's a lot of red flags on why you may not want Robert Woods here, and I kind of understand that little guy on your shoulder going, nope, don't do it.
Oh, wrong shoulder. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't trade your second. That's what he's saying.
I kind of agree.
I mean, I put the underrated tag because I might switch it to an overrated because I feel like, I'm going to do it.
I mean, at wide receiver 61, it's hard to be overrated.
Yeah, but this time next year he's going to be less, and I don't hate investing in Robert Woods at this price tag. If I had Robert Woods on my team, I probably wouldn't sell him for this price, which is like a late second. But for whatever reason, I'm not buying him here either.
I get it. Westbrook-Ikhine, we already kind of talked about.
Well, real quick, last point on Robert Woods. Maybe this is a guy where if you were trading, who's a good receiver that is close to, but probably a little bit more than a 23 late first.
More than a 23 late first?
A smidge more.
Let's find out.
Okay, I guess just point without naming the player. I'm sorry, this is such a shit way to do this. I apologize to all the people listening to the podcast. Maybe Bobby Trees, Robert Woods is one of those dudes that you try to trade a good young wide receiver for a first and Bobby Trees. I don't think he's my first pick, but in terms of someone that you could get it done for at a good price, this might be it. That might be the way that I would invest in a Robert Woods type.
I agree with Joe Herbert on this one. He's underrated, but you don't want to go buy him because it's just so many red flags, like we already talked about with the injury and the no passing of the Tennessee Titans here. It's just a lot of red flags that I like Robert Woods, the player, but fantasy wise, it's a tough sell.
We have been saying Joe's name wrong the whole time. A Bear. Joe A Bear.
What?
My brain's broken. Look at chat. Look at what Joe's saying in chat. Hebert. A Bear.
Wait,
Joe
is
A.
that
Bear.
actually how you say it, Joe?
There is no R there. So it's different than.
Honestly, I didn't just see that until now. There is no R. What the hell?
We're so focused on Justin Herbert that we just got.
a bear. That's going to take some time.
Wait, is that actually how you say it, Joe?
I mean, I don't think he would lie. I feel like that's just not something he has anything to gain from.
Seems like a French Canadian name.
Yeah, probably.
We've been saying
French.
Joe Herbert since Nom. I
People on the
honestly
pod
never
are not
realized
gonna
there wasn't
understand.
an R. It just looks like an R should be there.
I bet. Sorry.
I'm just gonna keep calling you Joe Herbert. It's just too natural at this point.
I'll try to change a bear. A bear.
That's hilarious. What's your opinion on Robert Woods, JT?
It's just I kind of wanted to put the overrated, but he is the established veteran on this team, even though like it's his first year here. But like he's wide receiver 61. I think he's probably better than what Corey Davis was. And I mean, Corey Davis was ranked higher. I get that he's older than Corey Davis, but I think he's fine. Wide receiver 61 feels fine. I think I'd just rather move him up before I moved him down. Like the old Saints QB, Bobby Hebert. Cajun pronunciation, but I'm not Cajun.
Cajun pronunciation. I've never heard of that term.
I think that just means French.
You learn something new every day. All right, I guess down to the next guys. Nick Westbrook-Akina. Jay, you kind of already said your spiel on him. Dez Fitzpatrick, he's a dude that I kind of liked at the Senior Bowl last year, but it's just like, what's the point? Probably not worth a roster spot. Kyle Phillips being the lowest rated receiver on this team as a rookie, though. Joe Hebert is a big fan of Kyle Phillips. Any roster spot consideration from you guys?
I don't even think he makes the Titans roster. So
he didn't make the keep trade cut roster.
No, so right now.
All right, well, I don't know. I just don't really want to have Kyle Phillips. That's about the gist of it.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, that's the sode.
Wild revelation at the end there, but yeah. Thank you everyone for tuning in, listening. We're gonna have one more episode where I guess we could kind of switch around where our rankings are on these players, and then preseason.
Well, when do we want to do that? Do we want to do that after preseason, middle of preseason? We could do it next sode. We can like go over everything. I mean, that would take some sheet manipulation where we'd have to put everything all into one thing.
Yeah, that'd be a monster of a sheet.
Oh boy, that would be a massive episode. Anyway, we'll figure it out. We went through all the divisions, though. That means it's almost time for football, boys.
Hell yeah. Well, yeah, once again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Hit that like button, subscribe button. Really helps us out. And peace out. Can't wait to do some stand-up a year from now.
Thanks, everyone.